For my first true Pokemon V deck, I decided to highlight Milotic V. With all these big tag team Pokemon running around with their high retreat costs, Milotic V is the perfect counter to that. Although it only does 10 base damage with Aqua Impact, each energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost increases that damage by 50. Something like Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia has a 3 retreat cost on its own. So when you add in things like Galar Mine, which increases the retreat cost of both active Pokemon by 2 colorless energy, as well as Absol, which increases the retreat cost of basic Pokemon, you can suddenly knock out an ADP in one hit with 1 Galar Mine and 1 Absol, and that's even if they have a big charm attached. Now, what you're seeing right here is a Frosmoth version of the deck. I prefer it over the Welder build that I've also made, but we'll show this one off first, and then we'll switch to Welder just to sort of compare and let you see the different ways you can play Milotic V. But with the Frosmoth version, you want to go first, you want to get at least 1 Snom down, and with the Welder version, you want to go second and get that Volcanion out to try and power up your Milotic. Both of the decks have their strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully I can show both of those off today. And we're kicking things off with the Frosmoth version of Milotic V, potentially against another Milotic V deck. I saw water, that usually means Frosmoth. It just depends, is it Lapras? Is it a bad start? Yes. I had the Corsola in here just to help pick off Pokemon that don't quite get knocked out by Milotic, because that was happening quite a bit. But you definitely don't want to start Corsola. Yes, it can do some damage early in the game, and if I wanted to do a lot of math, I'm sure I could figure out how necessary it is early in the game. But you want to make life easy at the end, and just pick things off with Corsola that you may not have gotten the knockout on. And we also play a Blastoise and Piplup. And we'll just get a Snom. We also play Blastoise and Piplup. There he is right there. The reason I play Blastoise and Piplup is because you need somebody besides Milotic V to take knockouts. Blastoise and Piplup just happened to be the one I went with. You could choose any other V, Keldeo V, you could choose Keldeo GX. It doesn't really matter. Just put a big water Pokemon in here. Put Volcanion Prism, put Black Kyurem. Doesn't matter. Have someone other than Milotic V. Just because you may run into evolution Pokemon, Absol doesn't increase the retreat cost of evolutions, so you don't want to put yourself in that situation. They didn't do anything, and we potentially, very unlikely, but we could potentially attack this turn. There's an Absol. Since I don't know what version they're playing, it doesn't make much sense to get rid of the Galar Mine, because they might bump that. And I think I will just go for a Zacian at this point. I'll get rid of the water energy. I'll get the Zacian V. This is exactly why it belongs in so many decks. Yes, it takes up a bench spot when you need it for an Absol, but we might just lose this game without it. And we won't attach, and we'll just Intrepid Sword. And even with Zacian V, a bad start continues to be bad. And they are having just as bad of a start as us. I think Marnie is the right option here, just because it'll put everything at the bottom of the deck, and we don't need to see our Snoms right now. We only play a 3-3 line to make sure that we're not messed up by prizes. So we'll play Marnie, we'll probably help them out in the process. So if I had to guess, I'd say this is ADP. So we will do that. We're going to have to get rid of the Marshadow, but we can get our Milotic V pretty much ready to go. So if they knock out the Corsola, we'll have a Milotic just 1 energy away. We're going to Intrepid Sword. And just, again, you're seeing exactly why Zacian V is the Pokemon to go for over, over Dedenne and Jirachi. It's really good because it's about 1/3 of the price, and it helps you get cards that you need. If I didn't have Zacian V, I'd have 0 cards in my hand, and I think Ordinary Rod was the top deck. So Zacian V just saved me from potentially losing this game, because it looks like it's Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia, but they've had a very slow start. Just like us, they've had a horrible start. We had a slightly better one, and they have a huge retreat cost. We only need them to have 6 in their retreat cost, and right now they have 7. So this should go well for us. Even with Mallow and Lana, it doesn't matter. We're taking one-shots on big tag teams. And there's Chaotic Swell. I knew that was going to come. Okay, but they're knocking out Corsola. We just need an Absol, and we can still take the knockout. Now we'll have to put the Marshadow back in, just in case we get the Galar Mine. And that is tough. We don't want to get rid of that, but I think we play 2 Rod. So we will... Probably should have checked my discard first, because we play Energy Retrieval. I think we'll just do both. We'll put down the we'll put the Marshadow back in, put a Water Energy back in, and see you Blastoise and Piplup. Because we got Galar Mine, we got literally everything we needed, and that ADP is not looking too tough to beat right now. So let's just double check the math. It has 3 retreat costs. Both of them have 3. Each Absol increases it by 1, so that's 6. 6 times 5, so that's 310. And we don't even need the Galar Mine. But I feel like we almost want to put it down just to get it out of our deck. But we'll hold off. We're taking a big knockout here, and all they can do is Altered Creation next turn. And they might even just concede if they don't have what they need in their hand. And if you're wondering why we play Tool Scrapper, Air Balloon, Escape Board. Oh, and we win. I almost wish I could bump that Chaotic Swell just to increase the damage, but that's a quick win with the Frosmoth version. And we will go right ahead to the Welder version. Switching over to the Welder build, it looks like we have a True Water deck this time. The last one was Arceus, Dialga, Palkia with the Blastoise and Piplup. This time we will go heads because we want to go second. It might help them set up their Snom, but it lets us get Volcanion or a really horrible start, but they don't have any basics, so we will get some mulligans going. So yeah, Frosmoth, I don't know if it's Milotic or Lapras, but I've been seeing a lot of Milotic on the ladder right now. And it'd be pretty funny to see Welder versus Frosmoth. That'd be a great deck, but judging by this hand, it's not going to be that exciting of a match. And it's Keldeo. Okay, so that's a basic. It has a 2 retreat cost, so we do have to increase it a little bit. But as long as we get something, I think we can win. There's a Lapras VMAX. We don't play a backup attacker like Blastoise and Piplup in this one. So we'll have to rely potentially on Hypno Splash to deal 150 and put it to sleep. And my opponent managed to get a Snom down, but we are doing exactly nothing right now. We're just going to get as much energy out of the deck to try and thin it. You know, we play Zacian V to help us avoid starts like this. We play 4 Switch. I threw a Friend Ball in there because why not? But we shouldn't be having starts like this. I guess I'll just attach to the Absol, drop the Galar Mine because why not, and go ahead. We're just sitting and waiting. And we get Marnied into more nothing. What a shock. But if they can bump... Well, actually, we don't need them to bump the Galar Mine. We'll just put a Zacian V down, Intrepid Sword, see where that leads us. Because they're just as stuck as we are. And a Wave Splash ain't going to do it. So we're both in bad spots, but I think I've recovered a little bit. I put the Vitality Band in here because there's no Corsola. So we'll put the Milotic. I mean, Energy Spinner Viridian doesn't really matter. And the math doesn't matter on Keldeo V, but it does matter on Lapras VMAX. Because Lapras VMAX has 320, Vitality Band helps, so I think we're just missing an energy attachment this turn because we have to get Zacian and we need the Vitality Band. So we're just waiting. Maybe they'll play another Marnie and give us more cards. And Intrepid Sword. I mean, there's Friend Ball, so we can get another Milotic. Not that I necessarily want one, but we could. I think we'll just get rid of the Friend Ball, to be honest. We'll get rid of the Friend Ball. Probably just get a Water Energy and Intrepid Sword again. Get a Water, and we hope we get Welder. Because next turn they're doing, how much damage are they doing next turn? With Secret Sword and 3 energy, that's not very much. But I don't really want to risk my Milotic getting any damage on it right now. So we might be sacrificing another Absol in a second. I will put my Milotic V up front just in case we Acrobike into a Welder. I mean, if we miss, we can always just switch into maybe even Zacian V, but I want to be able to retreat. Let's hope the top deck is good. It's a custom. I could dump the Frosmoth, but I think at this point we just get another energy and hope that one of these is a Welder. Neither of them are a Welder. We did get Volcanion. I can switch into Volcanion and Flare Starter, but I think I'll switch into Volcanion and just let it get knocked out. We'll Intrepid Sword one more time. We're all set up and ready to go with Milotic next turn. All we need is one more energy, and we're still no Welder. We haven't even played a supporter this game. I think I play 4 Pokegear. We're more than halfway through the deck. They're not doing much either. There's Secret Sword, there's a knockout, so I think them getting stuck helped us. You know, we were stuck. This was pretty much what you consider a bad game. We will. I think we Welder first. No. Let's Acrobike first, see what that gets us. We got another Welder. Okay. Because I want to keep these customs, because those will let me hunt down the V. I think you just Welder first. You know, as much as I want to have another Lapras or another Milotic down, it just wasn't possible right there. And we Viridian away the Acrobike, get a Water, attach that. So it took a very long time, but we're finally stabilized, and I think that is a knockout. That's a perfect knockout, actually. Oh yeah, Vitality Band. A little bit more than a knockout. And yeah, we're completely stabilized. Hopefully they get something going here. Maybe they'll get a Pidgeotto or something so they can start drawing. But right now they're just sort of stuck and they might concede. And if they do that, we'll go to another game with this build. You know, I was able to show off the Frosmoth version. That one rolled on all cylinders. This one, not so much, but you're just seeing how important Zacian V is and how easily this deck can take one-shots against big Pokemon. You know, it's the perfect counter. It's a 2-prize Pokemon that can knock out any 3-prize Pokemon. It has a tougher time against the VMAXs, but if you play someone with a tag team deck and you have your Milotic V, you're excited. As long as it's not Pikarom, because water types now have an electric weakness instead of grass. You know, Pikarom is still hanging around there, but I am seeing a lot more grass decks. It's just the Nuzzle decks that you have to worry about. Nuzzle completely wrecks you. I did manage to win one game against Nuzzle, though. But that's because they went Pachirisu in the active, Emolga, 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 and then one Pikachu. And I just used my customs to hit the Pikachu, take my knockouts when I could. And I think at the very end I stalled them with the Pachirisu in the active. And that had, you know, a 6 retreat cost with the Absols and the Galar Mine. So it was just draw, pass, draw, pass, draw, pass. And I think they eventually conceded, or I just started taking knockouts, but I did win, so it is technically possible. And I don't know why they come up with Blastoise and Piplup, because that thing is getting knocked out. And we'll energy retrieval for some fires back. We'll put them on the Milotic, and another tag team deck goes down. I know we'll have one prize left, but they're pretty much stuck right here. There's not much they can do. We will Viridian away the Quick Ball, get a water, we'll put the Heat Factory into play. Doesn't really matter at this point, we're just trying to get cards out of our deck that we don't need. We might need the Energy Spinner at some point, maybe. But we will Aqua Impact for knockout, and we have one prize left. And even with a reset stamp, I think this is going to be a win, because they have to send up one of their one prizers that they don't want in the active. So I think this will just be another quick win. And I'll probably play test matches with each version, one of each, and then I might throw that into the end of the video here, as long as one of them's good. If not, and there's a victory. If not, this will be the end of the video. And we're back with the welder version. I played with Frosmoth for a match. I didn't get anything going against ADP. They didn't have anything going, and they were the first one to finally draw into something that they needed. So we are with the welder version again. We won't put the Marshadow down just in case they try to catcher it. And it's a lightning deck. And it's a Toxtricity deck. I'm not going to concede yet because we have Acrobike, we have Pokegear. This could work out for us. It's unlikely, but they're not getting an attack off this turn. They went first. So even though we're weak to lightning, they still have to take 3 knockouts. And if we get the first knockout, that puts us heavily favored. And sorry, it's not Toxtricity VMAX. That's a baby Toxel. It's just going to be the spread version. I don't play Mew, so that could be rough. But they need to set up, Croagunk, Toxicroak. They need to set up a lot to get going. And although our Absol only has 100 hit points, I can always just use Hypno Splash. I don't have to rely on Aqua Impact. Milotic V does have a second attack. It costs a little bit more, but when you're up against something that is an evolution... Oh, it is the Toxtricity VMAX. Okay, so it's a... And there's the Absol. So we Acrobike first to increase our chances of hitting Welder. The custom... Bolton needs to have a 4 retreat cost, so we need the Galar Mine. But we could draw cards with Custom Catcher. So this is a horrible position to be in. And actually we can't Welder for a knockout this turn, so we have to get the custom. So I'll pretty much just have to put this hand down to nothing and hope we draw into what we need. So we'll Pokegear. Now this is even tougher. I think we have to just support her. We got rid of a Galar Mine to kind of avoid this, but it lets us do something for this next upcoming turn. And this next upcoming turn, we're taking a knockout as long as they don't Marnie us. And I don't think they have enough in their deck to get it done this early, but Bolt Storm, it has 30 more, so if they have Tapu Koko Prism and they play a bunch of Electro Power, they can take the knockout, but it would be a lot. This is the first turn they can play a supporter, but I have to assume and hope that they can't get it right now. And that was a whiff on Pokemon Catcher, so we're lucky there. They're using Electrify. So we are knocking out the Boltund, and all they have left is a Toxtricity. So we'll Welder first. We got another Welder. We have a Milotic. We'll Quick Ball a Quick Ball to get an Absol. And we will hold on to that other Quick Ball. We'll attach the water, and we'll take a knockout. So even against the lightning deck, you can get some wins. It just can't be a single prize lightning deck. You know, Pikarom, you lose to Pikarom because of Zero Aura. Zero Aura just removes retreat cost. So you can't beat that one. And if they get an Electro Power, that's a knockout. I did not see this one coming. And they have a Snorlax. Okay. You know, if you want to have a Pokemon to just draw you cards, I think the Alolan Grimer is probably the right one to go with, the one in the theme decks, because for no energy, for a free attack cost, you just draw 2 cards. You know, it's sort of like a budget Zacian V, except it has to be in the active spot. But I think that's a better option than the Snorlax, just because it costs an energy to get you 2 cards, whereas that energy would be better spent on the bench somewhere. And you can just, with Alolan Grimer, you just collect for free. With Snorlax or any of the other Pokemon that use that attack, you have to waste your energy. Okay. And we will welder to this one. Hope we get we did not get another fire energy. I still think it's worth attaching. And then we will, did I mess up the math? I think I did. So we'll have to put the Galar Mine down. I always forget about evolutions. Yeah, we would have been 20 damage short if we just tried to attack normally. What are they going to send up? They might get the Toxtricity VMAX set up. Yeah, we have to go through Snorlax. That one's not a problem. It has a 4 base retreat cost. We'd be knocking that out without Absol, without Galar Mine. So the Snorlax is not a concern. And the Energy Retrieval makes me think they don't play Tapu Koko Prism. But they do play Speed Lightning and a Boltund, so they... Was that a Luxio? Oh, they play a lot of Lightning Boys in this one. And there's the Trubbish. I think you need to simplify this deck. If you want to make a poison deck, I don't think you need Toxtricity. I think you just want to keep it Toxtricity V, Toxtricity VMAX, and Garbodor. And then just stop it right there. You know, add something like, you know, Zacian V if you can, or Oddno. Just keep it simple. Just have, you know, Toxtricity V, VMAX, Trubbish, Garbodor, Oddno, Tapu Koko Prism, Electro Power, Thunder Mountain. That's it. Don't worry about Snorlax or the baby Toxtricity. You know, Boltund, you can throw it in there because the Electrify is really good. But I think stay away from Luxio and Luxray. And they're going to Poison Jab. That work they did before really helped set that up. Okay. So Milotic V is taking a knockout thanks to the Absols and the Galar Mine. I think we just put down the Milotic V. Get rid of the Volcanion. Both of them. I don't think they're going to be necessary, and just get as much energy into our hand as possible. Originally, I didn't have Fiery Flint in the list, but I mean, you're seeing just how important it was there. It just gets you 4 energy. And I used to have Big Charm, but that was definitely a cut worth making. There just isn't enough space in the deck to fit Big Charm. I mean, you can fit it in there, you're just hurting the consistency. I've learned from many matches that Big Charm is not necessary. If Milotic V is going to get knocked out, you just have to accept that it gets knocked out. And in that case, try and manufacture a Volcanion. You know, Volcanion's a 1-prizer, so instead of them taking 3 Milotic V knockouts, they take 3 Milotic V and a Volcanion. So you sort of force them to take 7 prizes. And yeah, just keep it simple. Don't worry about Shinx, Luxio, and Luxray. Just stick with the V and the VMAX and the Poison Boy. And they play Boss's Orders. I'm still not 100% sold on Boss's Orders. It makes sense in tag team decks that play, you know, Dedenne GX to draw and Jirachi. But for decks like mine that use Welder, you can't really put a Boss's Orders in here. And for an evolution deck, I think you need to draw cards. And Boss's Orders prevents you from playing a supporter to draw cards. And they're going to electrify. So they tried to trap us, but I mean, we have Marshadow, so I don't think they. And we picked up a switch, but we'll get rid of the. We'll reset the Galar Mine, and we'll drop an Absol, and we will retreat into Milotic and take the win. And we'll definitely stop here. You saw 3 pretty good matches. I still prefer the Frosmoth version, but the Welder one proved better during filming. So I'll leave it up to you which one you want to go with. And here is my Welder build of Milotic V. I only play 3 of them. I don't play Ordinary Rod. You know, if your opponent takes 3 Milotic V knockouts anyway, they win the game. So that doesn't really matter. The Volcanion, I kept it down to 2. I used to have 4, but you really only want to have it turn, or your first turn going second. So 2 seems like the right number. Maybe you could lift that up a little bit more. I only play 6 supporters. I do play 4 Pokegear. The Friend Ball, I mean, why not play Friend Ball, you know? It's better than Great Ball if you're playing against a deck that helps you. Otherwise, it's useless. But you got to play something, may as well play Friend Ball. Tool Scrapper you definitely need in a format with Air Balloon and a Skateboard. You know, if you're facing a VMAX deck and they play Air Balloon on their VMAX, not only are your Absols useless, but you can't even get that 2 or 3 retreat cost normally. And then you want to play Tool Scrapper. If you don't play Tool Scrapper, you're going to regret it. You're going to have a bad time. Energy Retrieval, I play that over Fire Crystal just to get back your waters. Energy Spinner, that gets your waters. Fiery Flint helps get your Welder powered up. It's a pretty simple list. As you saw, it works. You know, you could try this. You could try the Frosmoth. I'm sure there's other builds you can make with Electro GX. But hopefully this gives you an idea of what you need to build a Milotic V deck. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.